What's going on, guys? I am Toxic Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. So today I just wanted to have a little bit of a discussion about the way that the worldwide celebration is going. It is a hot topic in the community right now. Everybody is up in arms about the fact that there's no content and all of this stuff for the worldwide celebration for part 1 this year. So I just wanted to address some of the, thoughts and things that I've been seeing spiral around. As per usual with things like this, I don't poo-poo as hard as nearly anybody else in the community, so my stance is that I definitely disagree, and I did pull up some celebration info from last year so that we can, make some comparisons and, take a deeper dive and look at what's actually going on here. So the very first thing that we're going to do, we'll go ahead and switch over to the wiki. So I have this year's celebration info for part 1 pulled up, and then last year's as well. You can see the start dates are almost the same because this is part 1 for both of the celebrations. So we're going to go ahead and scroll through here through both of these and just look at exactly how similar they actually are. And the reason I think it's important to do this is because of how hard people are stressing that there's no content. There's no stones. There's like nothing to do and they're not giving us anything, right? And I just really, really want to take a look at last year and see how closely it aligns to this, because I feel like if people were complaining for a lot of the same reasons last year around the same time, but by the end of the celebration, they had more than made up for everything that people were complaining about. Well, not everything, but certain things that people were complaining about. So we will get to that after we go through these. So starting at the very top here. Okay, obviously we have the login bonus and the missions as usual. Okay, so one of the key differences from last year is that last year they did a dual Dokkan Fest and then went on to do the 2 Carnival LRs in part 2. That was, something that they had done for the first time then, switching it up from what they had been doing in the anniversary with the Dokkan X Carnival, and it looks like this year they decided to go back to that format. So that is one key difference that we have to make note of. The Dokkan Festivals were both in part 1 last year, and now one of them is going to be in part 2. Okay, so we have the packs, the purchasable packs for, for the new summon. Okay, so again, we had 2 Dokkan events in part 1 last year, but we will get the other Dokkan event in part 2, so it's not like it's not coming. It's just going to be a little bit later. And then we've got the Dokkan Awakening support campaign here. That was up for both years. Okay, perfect. And then we have the 50 special summon was something that they used to do, and it looks like they have just revamped it into this step-up summon ticket thing. I won't get too much into the details here because this is somewhat opinionated. I'm going to try and stay away from the opinionated stuff and stick toward fact, just so that I feel like my points will be more sound. Because I personally think that this step-up summon ticket thing is a lot better than the 50 special summon, simply because this is going to be allowing you to pick up, like, guaranteed copies of Dokkan Fest units and things like that, rather than this one was just, typically the way it worked was you were really doing it for those guaranteed LRs at the end of the multi, but the rest of the multi was just going to be like 50 units or 77 units or something crazy like that, you would just get a bunch of fodder throughout the entire thing. Maybe you'd get lucky and get, like, an extra pull or something, and then you'd get your couple, LRs at the end, and you would only get to do the summon once, whereas these, these step-ups are going to allow you to do, like, single summons for guaranteed versions of new characters, and you'll get to do this step-up over and over and over again. So, yeah, I definitely think that the way that they've revamped this is better, for sure better, but obviously that is up to your own interpretation. So at best they are equivalent because they've offered us some type of free ticket extra summoning thing, right? Okay, so then we had the co-op campaign that they usually do. A little side note, something that I'm bummed, which isn't really a comparison between the 2 years because they were both like this, is that they stopped doing the reward cards for the co-op campaign. They used to do that where it was a campaign between... it was a competition between Global and JP to see who could, like, do better and play events more and stuff. Spend, like, more total stamina on things. And then the winners would get 1 copy of the card, the losers would get the other copy. And then when the next anniversary came around, you would be able to buy the other copy that was available on the other version from the shop with the anniversary coins. And all of those units are still available there, but they just haven't been giving out any new ones for the last 2 years, which is very unfortunate. But anyways, okay, so then there was this little social media stone campaign went on both. Okay, more about the special summons with the tickets. Okay, and then here we're just going into some information about the Memorial Dragon Stones. This is obviously advertising a dual Dokkan Fest, which we don't have because it's Dokkan X Carnival. And then this is just advertising all of the purchasable stones that you can get, the purple stones in the shop. The red stone as well. I believe the red stone isn't here because last year it was given out during the countdown celebration, not during the actual celebration. So it isn't in this list of, you know, stuff, but we did get a red stone last year. We get one at the start of every major celebration. But this year, they actually gave us 3 so far, and it's speculated that we're going to get up to 2 more, which is really, really good, especially considering that the Redstone character pool has been dramatically updated, including, you know, Dokkan Fest, a couple different Dokkan Fest units that came out in, like, 2019 or something like that. So pretty good. 2020, I even think. So, yeah, that is definitely a bonus, not to mention the ancient... you know, characters that are available with the Redstone that have already gotten their super easy A's, making them very, very relevant units to use in today's, like, content. So that is definitely a good thing to note. It's not content. It's not going to keep you entertained much longer, unless, you know, you're getting copies of new units that you have to go and farm up and stuff. But it is nice of them to do this. This is definitely a huge bonus for this year. Something that I wanted to highlight for sure. Don't forget about these Redstones. Okay. So let's see here. Next thing would be the Dragonstone sales, and just advertising the purple stones that you can purchase. Okay. Next, beyond that, we have, a new story event. So we were able to get this, Trunks teen that went into a future Trunks, and then now we have the new, SSR Paragus. So I guess last year was interesting because they made a new mechanic. This is when the domains, like the territory skills, or not the territory skills, the domains specifically. Yeah, the domain, effects. Oh, I guess the game calls them the territory skills, but the domain, yeah, I don't know, it's weird. Because then there's also the, target mechanic, which I thought was going to be coined as, like, the territory skill. It's just weirdness. Okay, but anyway, the domains came out this year. So this free-to-play unit actually had a domain, which is really cool. They didn't add a new game mechanic for this, you know, this year's worldwide celebration. So this Paragus doesn't have like a new featured mechanic or whatever. He does have like an intro and stuff. He's not bad. Good support unit. But yeah, either way, so they had either of those for us. What I was going to say is that, you know, they had a better mechanic on the unit last year, so we were able to try out like a new mechanic, which isn't available this year, but I would say that this is a better choice of unit, because we didn't really need like a free-to-play Trunks. There were so many free-to-play Trunkses already, on top of the Trunkses that they were getting easy A's, the Trunkses that were getting brand new named units as like headliners in the celebration, you know, on top of some other free-to-play like Trunkses in the game that also got easy A's on top of like Dokkan Fest and stuff, right? So all of that, it just kind of makes it feel like it's not that necessary, especially because Trunks isn't that needed of a unit, like a Super Saiyan Trunks. We don't need another Super Saiyan, another Hybrid Saiyan, another, you know, whatever. All of these common, you know, teams that Trunks is on, whereas Paragus is a much-needed villain, and I have already found myself using this Paragus on a couple of different teams, whereas last year I felt like there was no need for the Trunks, because there were so many other strong superclass characters that had, you know, been released. So the fact that we got an extreme class unit is very good in my opinion. Okay, and then for this, the extra bit for story news is that there was a support memory added to this that you were able to farm up. Nothing insane, but a cool little support memory at that. Okay, so then next up we had an event where you could play it once per day to get Dragon Stones, and then an event where you could get EX Skill Orbs for whatever the featured category for that celebration was. It's also worth noting that last year's celebration did not give us a new category at all. The new headliners had leader skills made up of categories that already existed in the game, and then they also just became 150% leads to both Super and Extreme. And that was a trend that I was hoping they were going to continue this year. They actually did not. With the new Saiyan Trio and the new Broly, they did not, you know, continue that. They have just normal leader skills with the 170 and then the extra 30 buff for the 200%, but they didn't give them the 150 flat for, like, Super and Extreme. I think that could have been really neat, especially for Broly, just because... he is a bit limited in his team builds just because of the kind of links and stuff that they typically give to Broly. I feel like he could have been the type of unit in game that would benefit really, really heavily from an all types leader skill. Even if it was just that sub leader skill, you know, having the freedom to put anybody on his team, as long as they were just like extreme class, would have been really cool. But anyways, so that is definitely, in my opinion, a mark against this year's Worldwide Celebration. But I think it balances that they gave us a new category, and this category is actually quite good. Okay, so moving down here, this is something they didn't do last year. The revamp of these events. So basically they just reset the missions for these 2 limited events, allowing us to get more Link skill orbs and more EX skill orbs. So that is pretty cool. This doesn't really have too much to do with the Worldwide Celebration. I would assume this has more to do with like the sync. But it is here, so it counts, right? Okay, let's see here. So last year they had the Divine Wrath of Mortal Will was like the special event for the Worldwide Celebration that was themed around it. And then this year we got the Tremble with Fear Devil Awakens. So those ones were equivalent. And then last year we got the Dismal Future Red Zone. And this year we get the Supreme Magnificent Battle Movie Edition. So those things are completely equivalent. And then looking down here, this is just an Elder Kai banner. Nothing to worry about there. Those release with every single banner that comes out. Okay, and then, let's see. It looks like we had... So, they had an Ultimate Clash in Part 1 last year, and that probably just was based on, you know, if like, the end of the previous Ultimate Clash aligned with them to be able to start one in time. And I think right now, both versions of the game are going through an Ultimate Clash, so we'll have to wait for that one to dissipate first, and then a new one will release. So I'm sure that we can expect an Ultimate Clash, like, in Part 2, because there isn't one in Part 1 here. And then same deal here, the memorable battles that allow us to get EX skill orbs for the Worldwide Celebration characters from years previous. This releases every year during the Worldwide Celebration now. I believe that it just came out in Part 2 or 3 in the last year's Worldwide Celebration, whereas it's in Part 1 this time, which I feel like is more than fair compensation for us not having the Ultimate Clash here in Part 1, right? Especially because then we also beyond... So, okay. So yeah, beyond that, technically, we also got the support memory boost for the new, you know, Krillin singing his heart out support memory. And then we got some extra missions added to the Training with Cybermen event, which is cool. Let's see, and then this is just advertising the ticket summons for that, no problem. And so then in place of these, we got this stack of 4 right here. This was, you know, a bulk of missions for each of these events. The GT Legendary Goku event, Vegeta event, and then these 2 red zones. We got some missions for each of these stages. So we were able to go and re-clear them. Some additional content to do. So, this part right here is where it seems like the most of the difference is, right? It was pretty much one-to-one through the entirety of the, you know, celebration info. Just to fully get through this. Oh, we're almost done here. We still have the easy A's, right? Because all of this stuff down here is just fluff. This is like all of the repeat events that are returning and things like that. So none of this is really stuff to consider. Where we'll stop considering things is like the actual new content being released. So right here. Yeah, because then we've got the same thing here. This is all just repeating fluff from previous or going into like the countdown celebration. Okay, so but right here, this is huge, right? The fact that we only had 1 Easy A, but we had 2 last year. But again, it's important to note this was a dual Dokkan Fest, and this is a Dokkan X Carnival. So it is possible that they are going to compensate us with another Dokkan Fest Easy A in Part 2 with another Dokkan Fest release, right? I think that that's something that they try hard to do, to make equivalent the amount of Dokkan Fest releases versus the amount of Dokkan Fest Easy A's. If they keep those one-to-one, then they know that they will never catch up to the most recent Dokkan Fest unit, right? So that's probably why the explanation for the discrepancy here. So yeah, really the biggest difference between the 2 parts is it felt like maybe there was more missions to re-clear on older content. comparative to just this new support memory boost stage and then the missions for the Training with Cybermen event. So yeah, that's basically it. But it really feels like these celebrations are not that different so far. I think that there's a lot more to come, and we need to hold out any, like, you know, ill feeling with ourselves until we see what happens in part 2. There's still a lot more celebration to go, so hold your horses. Hold your horses. There's definitely goodness on the way. So now, I would point a lot of the failure around this celebration this year toward the specific, like, unit selection that they've done, right? Okay, so this year for part 1, it's going to be a little bit hard to do, like, a perfect comparison with these, simply because of the Dokkan X Carnival versus the, you know, dual Dokkan Fest thing. It's going to be a little easier to compare these once we have all 4 headliners after part 2, but for now, I guess what we'll go ahead and compare is, like, okay, so the 2, like, Dokkan Fests from part 1 last year that were super type, right? These are both kind of, like, units you can write off, in my opinion. I mean, they're very good, right? Their leader skills are good, their kits are good, they are very usable units, you know, they're very relevant for a lot of the content that's being released. They're definitely powerhouses, right? They're definitely good units. It's not like they're bad. But the problem is that we don't really need more top tier, like, Saiyans. We don't really need more of this kind of thing, right? We're not, like, starving for it. Obviously, as power creep continues in the game, we're always going to continue to need more units like this, but for the most part, like, it's not like something that we heavily desire because it's, like, absolutely necessary to, like, complete content in the game, right? Whereas if you look at the extreme class units that they released, it's a lot more serious when you get into a situation like that, because if they fumble on an extreme class release, which is something that they you know, release a lot less often, then, you know, we're kind of starving on a lot of that, the extreme class missions for things like that. So yeah, I would say that the Fusion Zamasu was a much better choice for a unit last year than the Broly. But here's the thing to consider, right? We had the Physical Sword of Hope Trunks and the STR Future Gohan that were the 2 Carnival LRs last year. So technically it's not fair to compare Broly to Zamasu, because Zamasu was a Dokkan Fest last year, whereas Broly is not a Dokkan Fest, right? So technically we should be comparing Broly to whatever, you know, whichever of the Carnival LRs. So I guess we could just say, like, Future Gohan. And in terms of, like, sheer power and stuff, I would say Broly is better altogether. He's absolutely, like, I would say he's better than you know, the Future Gohan was on release. At least he's definitely better than the Trunks. The Trunks was the worst of all 4. And then it's also a nicer named unit, right? Because we didn't need a Gohan or a Trunks, but we really did need a Broly. Like, and here's the thing. Some people are going to say, like, yeah, right, we really did not need a Broly. I mean, if we go ahead and, let's go ahead and look at all the Broly cards really quick, and we can take a deeper look at this. Because this is, like, one of the things that I mainly wanted to, highlight here in this video. Oh, shoot, it's going to give me all of the... Okay, well, that's fine, we'll just stay up here, because, yeah, this is all of, like, the SSRs and stuff. So yeah, we'll just take a look up here. But look at this. This is it. This is every Broly unit in the game. And then obviously some of them are repeating for, like, the TURs and stuff like that. But yeah, there's really not much going on here. So yeah, it's nice that they have given us, I mean, wow, yeah, looking at this, there really isn't, we're kind of gridlocked here. There really isn't much that they can do. There's not much left in the Broly thing. But we're going to go through this more specifically in a second and just take a look here. But yeah, like, I would say Broly was definitely more needed than some of those other units. Why did my OST stop playing? Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so, yeah, I don't know. Like, Broly is, like, of any villains that they're going to release, Broly is definitely not, like, at the top of the list. You know, his links kind of suck, in my opinion. Yeah, Broly cards have never had, like, the best setups. I feel like it's very hard to use them on teams, because look at this, like, all of these are, like, Saiyan links, right? Saiyan warrior race, Saiyan lineage, prepared for battle. You know, and then Berserker is not even that good of a link to begin with. There's not really that many people other than all of these Broly cards that have you know, that have that. But yeah, look at this. Look who he's linking up with. It's just a bunch of Broly cards, and then it just moves down to like all of these Goku and Vegeta stuff. It's just all Saiyans. Like, it's pretty bad, right? Like, all of his best linking partners are like this. If you want to get him on an extreme team, then you have to try and throw some of those other extreme class units that are also Saiyans in there. So like Goku Blacks, or like, you know, like, I don't even know what else. Masked Saiyans. Who else was I thinking of? Yeah, I guess technically like Masked Saiyan is there. Oh, I guess like Turles would be another one. But yeah, even then they still don't link up that amazingly, right? So, yeah, it's pretty rough with Broly units, and I think that that's why I'm a little bit underwhelmed by this. I kind of enjoy when they release a Broly or something, and it's for a, you know, like a smaller celebration. Like, it's cool when they do like Golden Week and stuff. The Int Broly that just got his EZA, he released in Golden Week, and I think that that was a much better time for him, because it wasn't an entire celebration with all of this stuff committed to buffing it. You know, because then it's very focused on buffing like Broly's teams, and I don't really like using Broly's teams just because they're so finite. They don't cover enough of the game because there's not enough variety if you want to build them in their strongest form, right? Whereas a unit like Zamasu had a much different experience. He links up with a lot more villain cards in a lot better way, and I feel like he's a much more, you know, like universally usable villain than a card like Broly. So even though Broly was a better pick than either Future Gohan or Sword of Hope Trunks, I still think it was a worse pick than literally any other villain in the game that they could have chosen. So, that being said, let's go ahead and take a look at the cards here, and there's just one thing I want to note. Besides them being able to give us new cards, what could they do with the rest of these Broly cards? This is just me. I'm kind of finished with the ranting about the comparisons between the two celebrations over the year, and now I'm just looking to speculate toward what maybe we could expect them to do for Part 2. Or if we can expect more Broly shenanigans, or if maybe they'll head in a different direction that might be a little bit better. We'll see. So, what I'm going to do is take a look at all these existing cards and see... and just kind of make note of which ones still need buffs, as in, like, if they're coming up on a Super EZA or an EZA, or if nothing, right? Okay, so obviously brand new ones, we're not looking at EZAs for them anytime soon, definitely not for them. Broly, Chile, Lemo already have their EZA. This guy, this Tech Broly right here, I would assume at some point during this celebration, either in Part 2 or 3, he is going to EZA. Probably nothing for him. I guarantee it's going to be a long time before we see LRs starting to get Super EZAs, so there's no counting on that for sure. These are just TURs of units. This is a Heroes unit, so it'll be doing its own thing during the Hero Celebration. TUR of a unit. We have to see an EZA for him, but usually what happens is the very first units from a year to get their EZAs are the anniversary LRs. That is what they've been doing for the past couple of years consistently. They won't EZA a single unit from that year until the anniversary units have gotten their EZAs, and then they unleash the floodgates and start EZAing stuff from that year, right? So this is a 7th anniversary banner unit. So we have to wait until the 10th anniversary when the 7th anniversary LRs will get their EZAs, which should happen in January, and then we can expect this guy to EZA. So he's probably not going to EZA during this celebration. He just got his EZA. He is a Heroes unit, TUR of Broly, Chile, Lemo. He is a free-to-play unit, already has his EZA. TUR of the LR right here. He's already got his EZA. He's already got his EZA, and is a Dokkan Fest that's way too new to have a Super EZA yet. This is a free-to-play unit. I don't believe this guy has an EZA. He doesn't. Yeah, just the Dokkan Awakening. So I suppose it's possible for us to see a new EZA area for this guy. Though we're more focused on not Dragon Ball Super Broly during this celebration. It's been a lot more like, you know, Dragon Ball Z Broly. And this is a Dragon Ball... Where'd it go? This is a Dragon Ball Super Broly card, so I don't know that we would see an Easy 8 area for this card. I feel like this would come with some of the other units that are also from Dragon Ball Super that, are from that same event, like the Coat, the Goku, and Vegeta. And then the Golden Frieza. Okay, so this guy already has his Easy A. This one is just from a Dokkan Fest, so they're not going to touch him. They don't do anything with these Dokkan Fest droppable units. He already has his Easy A. He is still too new of a Dokkan Fest to have a Super Easy A, being the 120% leads. TUR of the LR up here. This guy already has his Easy A. He could definitely see a Super Easy A. He's old enough for it. But then also this STR Broly is even older. This is, I believe, the very first Dokkan Fest, if not then like second to Physical Kid Buu. And yeah, he could definitely, it's pretty much assumed that one or both, or at least this STR one, is going to get a Super Easy A during this celebration. And then, last but not least, we have Bio Broly, who doesn't even have a Dokkan Awakening. He just has the one story event card, no Dokkan Awakening or anything. So I think it is very possible that we see an Easy A area for him, where he gets his Dokkan Awakening, his Easy A area, or his Easy A, and then also, this is a huge thing, since we're talking about movie versions of Broly, and not addressing, like, Dragon Ball Super Broly, I think it's possible that we get Bio Broly, and that would be tragic. That would be absolutely devastating. I do not like Bio Broly. He's, like, literally the worst form of Broly. There's a lot of different forms of Broly around here that are more heavily limiting on themselves based on their links in their categories, and this Bio Broly is like the epitome of that. Look at this. His link set is so not it, and he has no categories. Yeah, I am not excited about a Bio Broly unit coming to Dokkan. Oh, it's nice that he got the new Uncontrollable Power category, though. That is cool. But yeah, definitely I do not want to see a Bio Broly, especially considering what they always do with the Dokkan X Carnival, and what they did this time is the Carnival unit in Part 1 is Extreme, which means that the Extreme class unit that we could expect to see in Part 2 is going to be the Dokkan Fest, whereas the Super class unit is going to be the Carnival. So whatever this Extreme class unit they put up is, it needs to be a very solid leader that is going to run a very solid team, so that we don't get the Extreme class shaft that we have seen over the years, right? And if it's a Bio Broly, that's not going to be good. That's absolutely not going to be good. So that is my biggest fear coming up on Part 2 of the celebration, is that they release a Bio Broly. I'm fine if they do stuff with the free-to-play unit. I think it would be cool if they made even, like, a banner unit, or if they wanted to save it for, like, some type of, like, Tanabata LR, like, later on. Something like that could be cool, but I don't want to see it here in the Worldwide Celebration. I think that would be bad. But it does seem very likely, that being said, my opinion out of the way, it does seem very likely that we are going to be sticking to Broly during the celebration, and that whatever the Part 2 LRs end up being, one of them will be another headlining Broly. So we'll just have to wait and see what they plan to do here, but there isn't a whole lot left that they can do with these other Broly cards. So yeah, we'll have to see what their plan is. But yeah, overall, I think that people are kind of being babies. I think that this year's Worldwide Celebration is not nearly as bad as a lot of the community is making out to be. Granted, I did not go and do a deep dive on how many Dragon Stones were given out for free and stuff, but I feel like based on our comparisons of the two celebrations so far, we can get a decent idea. So maybe we'll do another follow-up after Part 2 and see if the community is still feeling the same way, and go ahead and talk about things further. But for now, I think that is pretty much all of the information that I have for you guys. If there's any major considering factors that I've left out that you've been screaming at me this entire time to mention, please feel free to drop it in the comments below. I'd love to hear what you guys think on the matter as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. That is going to do it for this one. I will catch you guys next time. Peace.